what made this particularly complicated was, of all the acquisitions we've done, this is the first one that we've ever done that we didn't buy the entire company.
Whoa.
Right?
Okay, we are live. Travis, thanks for jumping on, man. Really appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Happy to be here.
Great office, great day. So this is a little bit more unique for me, right? Because I focus more in the multifamily space, having you on Capital Vacations, and you can give an intro on yourself here. But focusing today's episode more on timeshare and resort management, brand new to me, so to speak. I know a little bit, and Jason, you're the owner and founder. But really just want to better understand how the industry works as a whole, where you guys are, what your competitive advantages are, and then obviously we can wrap with a deal. But you've been in and around timeshare for 27 or 30-ish years. So how'd you start?
Now, not 30.
27.
Yeah.
So how'd you start? What made you love it? And if you want to give an intro on yourself, that'd be a good start.
Sure. So, hey, I'm lucky enough for me to find something that I loved, that I was passionate about right out of college. So I started with Wyndham. I started my career there and started in sales, actually, and moved up quickly from there and really, did well. Again, lucky to find something I was really interested in. And became a senior executive, like by my 10th anniversary.
Wow.
So I was, running a large division for Wyndham and again, just an awesome experience for me, and frankly, haven't thought I would never leave. I still haven't done a resume since college.
Wow.
Yeah. So, we can get into the capital piece a little bit later, but yeah, that's it's funny. People are amazed by that.
100%. Actually.
So I think for me, like when I was in my senior year of college, and I was looking at what I might want to do, and I'm from the DC suburbs, so I knew I didn't necessarily want to move home. But just because I didn't want to deal with the grind of the traffic and everything up there. But had a friend that was working at
Wyndham. You said he was already down here, and he said, you got to come down.
Yeah. And, I think for me, when I came down and saw, because I had no idea what timeshare was. I had no concept, really. Right. But I think what attracted me was I've always been very passionate about vacations.
Yeah.
Right. So I grew up with a great family, very lucky. My mom and dad are still around, and we're all very close. My sister as well.
Awesome.
But two working parents, very middle class family, and our vacations were the best time of the year for us. We were lucky enough that I got to see my mom all the time because she was a school teacher. So whenever we were off, she was off as well.
Right.
My dad ran his own construction business, and while he didn't travel for work, there would be times where we wouldn't see him because he'd leave before we did in the morning.
Sure.
And get home after we were asleep, right?
Yeah.
But always we took a couple of great vacations a year. Right?
That's awesome.
And it was a time where, I can think back about it, where I just got my dad's full attention for the week. And it just was so, I can tell you where we went every year and all those things. So that's been a big thing for us that I've carried forward in our, with my family today.
Right.
But it really, when I got started in the timeshare business and industry, I saw that's what we really did for people. We helped create those special
memories,
moments, those memories, right? That really did it. So that's what attracted me to the industry.
Wow. Outside of sports, right? At least growing up for me, right? I would agree the same thing. You spend the most time around your dad, maybe, or whatever it may be, on a vacation. Besides coming to a baseball game or basketball, or him watching you skateboard, whatever it may be. But so amazing background. You got into a senior level position in 10 years. What you now as COO of this large company, what did the senior role entail? So is that when you got your first taste of operations, or was that a blend role of like sales and operations?
So at Wyndham, I ran a large sales division. So basically the East, which was South Carolina up to Canada, out through the Midwest. Yeah, so we had
big territory.
Almost a couple thousand employees, and I ran a couple of initiatives for Wyndham. I was lucky enough, great leadership team over there that I learned a ton from, I should say. But was able to run some initiatives for the resort operations side. So I've always had a knowledge of that and had influence. And then, kind of fast forward in my career is, I was around Wyndham on those just fun, fast growth years.
Yeah.
Where we're just growing like crazy, able to move and make decisions. And
Sure.
Wyndham is an awesome company today. T&L, actually, they've rebranded to Travel and Leisure.
Cool.
And just listened to the earnings call yesterday, which sounded great.
Yeah.
For all my friends over there. We just got to the point where it's a big, stable growth company, and I really had the desire, in my career, even though I haven't been around for 30 years, as you suggested.
27.
But I wanted to have, one more, fun run of growth, if you will. Maybe not just one, maybe more than one.
Sure.
So, hey, I know Jason
Yeah.
very well. We've been friends for a long time, and actually worked on a deal that he and his family owned in North Myrtle Beach.
Oh, wow.
One of the first asset-light deals in our industry.
Interesting.
To where after the crash of '08, they had a high-rise tower that they had taken reservations on prior to everything happening, and then 2009, a very small amount of people actually closed. So they had a significant amount of inventory there, and we ended up getting together on. They provided the inventory, and Wyndham came in and acted as a sales and marketing agent. So it was the first time that had happened, because previous to that, all the big developers, the Wyndhams of the world, the Hiltons, the Marriotts, they used their own capital, built their own buildings,
Interesting,
and sold it. So it was the first time that happened, and there's been several more since then. But it was a great endpoint for both parties.
Sure.
Wyndham needed the inventory and the financing, because that's what happened in 2008.
Yeah.
And they had an asset they needed to get out of, so they end up in the worst environment imaginable, making a profitable transaction.
I've heard a little bit about of that story from Bill and Jason. So to me, it just, I think the pinnacle of creative real estate or creative dealing, right? Like, so they had this asset post crash. Not necessarily that they were stuck, but they had to solve the problem with something else, and the plan was not to timeshare or make right.
No.
And then is that how the first thing you guys crossed paths? Or well, you're already friends with him.
Yeah, we were friends already.
Okay.
And then that's the first opportunity that I had to do
Wow.
business with Jason. And I think I left that experience, because we worked together on it a couple of years while we sold the project out. But I left that experience just, always had a great friendship, but really impressed with him. Right. And then kind of fast forward over the years, I see what he's doing and starting to do in our industry, which I can talk a little bit more about later. But I just said to myself, man, I feel like where he's going, because if you look at our industry, right, in the U.S. there are approximately 1,600 timeshare resorts.
Right.
Of those 1,600, about 650 are the big branded people that everybody's heard of that manage those. So the Disneys, the Marriotts, Hilton, Wyndham, and then a couple of smaller players. Blue Green is another, and Westgate, right? People that are multi. And then you have another 900, 950 that are all independent timeshare resorts. So resorts where the original developer sold them out and has turned them over to an independent board of owners.
Interesting.
Right.
And you guys manage over 200, at least from what I read.
So and what Jason was doing is he was playing in that independent space that I felt like was very, very underserved.
Wow.
And I saw his strategy, and we started talking, because it was a big move for me. I had a great job. In fact, looking at taking on a global marketing role.
Wow.
With Wyndham. So it was a big move for me, leaving a lot of my great friends and stuff. So it was a big deal, but it's been the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, so that's what I want to ask about. So before breaking down the industry and how your job works specifically here, or how the deals even work, what made the transition the most attractive? So you said you wanted to start over one more time and grow, but obviously Jason saw the same thing that you saw in him, which was like, oh, dude, this guy can work. Or like he found something of extreme value. So what made it, in your mind, able to like, oh, I can quantify making this leap after 17 or 18 years at Wyndham? Yeah.
It was 22.
Okay.
It's, I think for me, it was, I remember going home to Shannon before this all happened. I just said to her, I was like, hey, I can do this for 10 more years, but I feel like I'm not learning as much as I would like to learn, right? Because I'm kind of in this role where I'm really good at what I'm good at. And Wyndham had an awesome SLT, a C-level suite there. Were great, and they weren't much older than me. So the 2 roles that I could do
Sure.
over there would have been chief sales and marketing officer or chief operating officer.
Wow.
And both those guys are just a few years older than me. So I was like, I'm going to have to do something else
Yeah.
for me to really get that exposure
100%.
that I really
Yeah.
desire. Because I'm probably like you, I'm one of the ones that I really need to learn to feel like I need to grow or I'm not.
Absolutely.
I'm
yeah.
feeling stifled.
Where you feel like you're dying.
Right.
Yeah.
I
You
do.
need to move. Yeah.
So that's what attracted me to come over here, is just having the ability to really work with Jason to grow something. And frankly, he made me an offer finally I couldn't refuse.
Sure.
You know?
That always helps
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and he's the founder, and Jason's he's definitely the smartest person I've ever been around.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But what I also like about Jason, I don't think you often put these two combinations together, but he's also very humble, and I think he's very aware of what he's awesome at, and I think our skills complement each other very well. I'm an operator. That's what I do. I'm a recruiter, and so it's been a great, I don't want to say marriage, but it's been a great partnership, if you will. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he's big on that, at least what he speaks with me. Like, he knows what he's very, very good at, and if he's not, then he knows there's a more effective person or way to do it. That's just efficient
and he's
leadership.
not afraid to say it.
Yeah.
I think is awesome, because a lot of people with his abilities have big egos that wouldn't allow him to
100%.
say that. So I think it's and again, I don't know that I would have, I don't know, I wouldn't have made this move for anybody else. I don't think.
Yeah,
So,
speaks a lot about him.
Yeah.
So good jumping off point too. Good background on you. Me understanding a little bit more of the story of how you got here, but can you break down resort management or timeshare just kind of from a macro level, and then we can dive into your role a little bit more, and then how you play a role in what we were talking about before, RFPs, acquisitions, what you look for in deals.
Yeah, so kind of break down the timeshare industry.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think at a high level, what timeshare is in broad terms, if you will, is it's an alternative to owning a vacation home or condo.
Right.
I think generally consumers today, and have over the past couple of decades, seen the value of owning versus renting.
100%.
Right? So you apply those same ownership principles to a smaller portion of the pie, if you will.
Right.
Where a client or consumer is able to buy just a portion of vacation time that they want to use. And it gives them the ability to have the benefits of ownership,
right,
while not spending enough, some to buy. But also, I think that some of the two major kind of advantages are the upfront price is less,
sure,
right? And the yearly fees are less, and you have flexibility to go different places every year, right? Have different experiences, because today's timeshare product is much different than what's been in years past, right?
Yeah.
The club products of today,
the points and exchange programs,
gives the people the ability to go by the day if they want, have different locations, access to hotels, access to cruises, and experiences. Because today's consumer, I think COVID taught us a few things, is today's consumer wants more space,
100%.
wants some privacy, and they want experiences. I mean, if you see that today, I just listened to Marriott's earnings call today, and everybody is saying, hey, the consumer spend and demand for vacations and experiences has never been higher.
Wow.
Which is interesting in a time of inflation that we're in. It's very interesting that we're seeing that.
I think that's finding its way everywhere, right? And whether that was the catalyst was a remote work for that. You saw a lot of people like, hey, I live in Denver, but hey, I'm remote. Well, you saw a lot of younger folks, or millennials, so to speak, going to move somewhere else in Airbnb for 3 months. And they're like, oh,
I'm going to extend my vacation by a week, and I'll just I'll work for 5 days here.
Yeah.
Because they can work remote.
Wow. Yeah, that's certainly going to, whatever the word may be, just expound on your industry, especially because people want more flexibility. They don't want to go to the same place every year, and that changes the whole product that you guys can offer and have to offer.
I think for us too at Capital Vacations is one of the reasons that we did so well, and I hate to even say this to some folks, but we did very well during COVID. I mean, we actually did a couple of acquisitions during COVID.
Wow.
And I think a lot of that was, I would love to say it, that we're really smart, and I think some of that is that we're in drive-to destinations. And we offered, accommodations that people wanted, privacy, where they have their own kitchens, they have more space. It made a big difference for us, and so it was great.
Yeah, and COVID restrictions around flying obviously make the drive destinations a lot more appealing too.
And our sales environment was largely in locations that were more open than others.
Wow. So how does, like, looking at all the pictures in the office here, each building, right? I look at the building from more of a an apartment standpoint of like a per unit, you have your cost per door and how much I'm going to get out of rent and our overhead. This is probably a very large question, but how does the deal itself work, right? So someone else owns the building, and then you guys are trying to get, or the company or similar companies to you guys, are buying the management contracts of the building, if it is a timeshare building. Is that at least the...
Yeah, so we'll do two different things to grow our business. Well,
Yeah.
more than two, I
Yeah.
guess, but we'll do a couple things to grow our business, which is we will acquire a management company.
Got it.
Right, it is managing timeshare resorts today, and
Got
we've
it.
done several of those.
Yep.
We will acquire a developer, so somebody who has developed their own resort or a series of
wow.
resorts that is still operating those and has a sales component.
Huh.
And then we will try to go deeper into that independent market, right? So if you think about those 950 independent resorts that are
Right.
out there, we have over 20% market share today.
It's crazy.
And we're 5 or 6 times as large as the second place company, right? So it's our market share. And hey, I don't want to at all say that bigger is always better.
Sure. Profitable is better.
Yeah, we are, and I think what our size allows us to do is offer better service, more opportunities to our clients. And one of the things that really intrigued me about coming to Capital was that what Jason's vision was to offer big company services to the independent resorts, almost franchise-like, right?
Yeah.
So we can dive deeper into it later, but I think that's what nobody else was doing.
Yeah,
and so
that's
for
wild.
me, I just saw opportunity to help people,
Yeah.
right, and green space where there wasn't other people doing what we're doing, and there frankly still isn't.
So franchise level accommodations, but at a boutique asset or location, you mean? Like just kind of...
I mean more like giving, so use a Hilton or Marriott, PW,
right.
whoever,
Yep.
right? They have a series of their own resorts,
Mm-hmm.
right? They'll build them to their brand standards or have somebody build them for them to their brand standards.
Yep.
They'll manage those resorts and they'll sell them.
Right.
And now they'll have, like as with any company, you have people that default on their loans. They
Mm-hmm.
take the inventory back and resell it.
Yeah.
What they've done is they keep their associations very healthy because they have close to 100% of the intervals from that resort sold. So how do these associations, like if you look at a one-off association, which
Right.
how do they pay their bills, right? They receive most of the revenue that they get from their owners paying maintenance fees.
Wow.
That's the best thing that they can do, right? So,
Wow.
If you have a one-off developer,
Yep.
I'll use a resort here we have called Maritime Beach Club. It's
Sure.
up in North Myrtle.
Yep.
112 units right on the ocean. Oceanfront looks great, right? The original developer sold that out decades ago. And let's say that developer sold 95% of the weeks. So
Yep.
you have 95%
Yep.
of the owners paying maintenance fees to the association.
Sure.
That's the revenue they use to run the association.
Got it.
Right?
Yep.
Now, any unsold inventory, they'll try to rent, right? And they'll
Yep.
create other revenue. So that's your two main ways.
Who are they renting just to
Any
make sure?
consumer.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody else.
It could be...
It could be one of their own owners. It could be,
Wow.
putting it today. You put it on all the online, all the OTAs and such.
So the other 95% is pre-sold, whether it's points or like a certain interval to an owner, and then you have 5% vacancy that can go to anyone that can.
in
rent
the example I just
Airbnb.
gave you, yep.
Yeah.
And-
Wow.
And you
I
also
didn't
have
know
some owners
Very
that
cool.
won't use, so there'll be weeks to use. I think the point I'm trying to make to you here is the way these resorts have achieved their revenues that they need to not only run the resort, pay their employees,
Right.
clean the rooms,
Yep.
but also put money in reserve for long-term
Yep.
improvements. And hey,
Off of one flow.
they get that
maintenance.
money each year, but you
Yeah.
got to you have to put money aside for those long-term.
Mm-hmm.
If you have buildings that are 10 and 20 years old, 30 years old, you have to maintain them.
100%.
Right. So what I saw so you have the big developers, they're taking care of that because that delinquency, that 95% falls
Yeah.
each year. People stop paying, they pass away,
Yeah.
get divorced, whatever.
Yep,
just like with
Mhm.
what
Everything.
you do, right?
Yep.
And in the branded space where you have those folks, they'll take back that delinquent inventory and sell it again,
Wow.
so that those associations are healthy.
Yeah.
In the independent space, that wasn't happening. So you take a Maritime, for example, I'll use that 95% example. When I came to Capital in the end of 18, their collection rate was like 66%.
Wow.
Or high 60s, maybe, I don't want to say exactly, but higher 60s, right? So what we do is we'll enter into a franchise agreement with them, like I'm just using that example,
Sure.
that term, but we entered a sales and marketing agreement with them where we will act as their sales agent.
Oh, wow.
And we will help them increase those revenues, each year. Now, it's a big deal because nobody else is doing that, not at the scale we're doing it. And we will go in and all of a sudden, you look at this year, they'll be up to almost 85% collection rate. And that's with their natural delinquency every year. You're going to have 2, 3, 4% fallout, which COVID actually expedited some of that.
Wow.
And so what we've done, and we have a lot of other services, Matt, that I can, I don't want to just stay on sales, but I think the big differentiator is in the independent space, we're the only ones that are guaranteeing increases in revenue.
Wow.
Because we'll guarantee a sales pace to them, and we'll also, we're so confident in our rental ability that we'll look at their past performance on rental ability, on rent performance, and we'll actually go in there and guarantee them a higher rent return for access to all the inventory.
Wow.
So it's a big win for the association.
Sounds like it.
It is, and it's exciting for me because I see, like, I use Maritime just as an example, where they before we'd done all this, they were trying to refurbish units. They were doing a couple of units at a time, right? Yeah. And they're in the middle of refurbishing 8 floors right now.
Oh.
Because we've created that capital, and they feel confident that capital, that revenue stream is going to continue to come.
Just through that sales and marketing program, or how would you, product?
Yeah, sales and marketing program.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what would, that's, I did not certainly know that existed, but what would that, or let's say a different independent one, they go from 85 or 90% occupancy or being sold, right? And then they drop down to 60. If they don't partner with someone like you guys, and it sounds like you're the only ones that do it, what happens to that association? Do they go belly up? Does someone have to, can they acquire them?
You're starting to see today some of these associations being what are called, industry term is unwound.
Oh.
So they'll actually go through the process of unwinding the association. You have to get all the individual weeks back.
Yeah.
And then they sell the asset.
Whew.
So we've had some independent boards that have wanted to do that. We've helped them do that. It's a complicated process though, because you're getting title back to, it could be 52 weeks out of a unit. So you're having to get all that title back and clear. And each state, of course, as you know, has different laws you have to follow for that. So, and you're right, some of that 60%, it's a scary number. When they fall below 80, it starts happening fast, because if revenues are short, the only thing they can cut is refurbishments and staff, right? You still have to pay your taxes.
Yeah, neither of those are going to be good to cut either.
Yeah. So,
wow.
And that's really what we're doing. I know you want to talk about one of the acquisitions later, but we acquired a big company last year from Marriott Vacations Worldwide called Bary Americas.
Yep.
So they were a big management company as well. And it's been exciting of how many of those associations have quickly asked us for all these services that we provide.
Interesting.
It's been really cool.
So when you guys acquired VRI, what did that consist of? Was that a select number of associations or resorts, just management contracts? Or what did that consist of? And then you said some of them were inquiring about your other products too. So what exactly did you guys, what came with that acquisition?
VRI was a large, actually a very large management company owned by Marriott Vacations Worldwide. Marriott had acquired them from a purchase that they made of ILG, which is another big company in our industry. That's a big exchange company, largely. And basically what they provided was management services to over 100 resorts.
Wow.
And rental services. That was their core competency. So what excited us about that acquisition was, or the possibility of acquiring them was, they had a great team in place, which is awesome. And there's a need for what we do. We could add to that, right? They provided great management services already, and we felt like we could go in, and they had great relationships with their boards.
Cool.
Many of their independent boards have been with them 20, 30 years.
Wow.
So tremendous service from that point. And then what we did is we went in and said, hey, what we want to do is offer you these other services that you can view. And oh, by the way, here are tens of boards, actually close to 70 people you can talk to tell you how it's worked out for them.
Wow.
And so it's been great.
Is there any, besides the products that you can offer in increased occupancy, and I'm sure 1,000 other things as well, but is there also value in, hey, we're bringing you in these, you said 100 new resorts were in that? Okay. Now you have 100 new resorts to play with your other existing. Like, is there value in, hey, you can be a part of an exchange program amongst our other resorts? Okay.
Yes, there's all kinds of value that we'll play in there. I mean, not only that, but more benefits for your owners.
Yep.
More. We have a group insurance policy where we're able to, give them better deductibles and lower fees, right? Where we partner with somebody because we're able to say we're insuring resorts over a wide geographic area with the insurance company. So there's things like that, the ability for us to help with refurbishments, our buying power. You want to put new mattresses in the resort, which is a big thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And TVs, and we have all that buying power that we can pass on to them. Yeah. So there's just, I could go on.
A lot of economies of scale.
A lot of economies of scale. That's right.
That's super cool. One question I had before, I actually didn't put it in the prep sheet for you, but how interest rates are impacting, one, our economy as a whole, but two, more for our business on the apartment side, but it impacts real estate overall. But how does that impact people going on vacation? How's that impact like maybe acquisitions you guys had plans or people, the amount of RFPs that you were getting for people asking you to do bids? And also, does that affect the amount of units that you want to take down and rehab or turn around? Like, how does that affect your industry?
A few different things there, right? So if I started with us as a company, right, if we want to do an acquisition, and we don't borrow money for all our acquisitions, some we do out of cash, but it's going to cost us more to do that. And we can obviously just work that into our pro forma as we look at what that's going to cost us. We run a large captive finance business. So on our sales, for our sales team, we offer financing to all of our consumers.
Yeah, so, I think Jason mentioned that once.
Yeah. So as we borrow money for that, our rates are higher. So we make less of a spread.
Sure.
So it's definitely an impact overall EBITDA for us as interest rates are up.
Yeah.
So we haven't raised rates on our consumer.
Sure.
Just because we didn't feel it was the right thing to do.
So then things are getting tighter of a spread for you then if you're not raising rates. Yeah. Wow.
It hasn't been dramatic to us, but it's definitely an impact.
Yeah.
We're growing our sales. There's a big need for our sales. So we're growing our overall sales revenue pretty dramatically year over year. And so our overall, it's impactful, but it's not because we're growing, it's not as impactful as it would be otherwise.
Yeah, that's good. Before we jump into a specific deal, I think we missed the elephant in the room. So you as COO, what are you responsible for? And we can start there. I know we kind of intermittently got to that topic, but like, what do you truly oversee here? And then what is on the horizon for you and the company that you're in charge of in the next year or two?
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to serve as a COO here, which to me has been awesome because, again, we talked about in the beginning, I feel like I need to learn and grow, or I'm just in it's like a dark place, right?
Yeah, I agree with
and
that.
So, spending 22 years in the business before I got here at a very high level, I feel like I learned more in the first year here than I had learned in the previous 10, just because it was so different for me.
Sure.
And being able to focus on so many different parts of our business.
Yeah.
So for me here, I basically run our operations, our day-to-day business. So if I look at everything from resort operations, so that team reports up to me, and that's 200 resorts, and again I have great people, so it's not like I'm involved in all that. But the rental program, so we perform rent for all those associations and our club. Then a sales and marketing team, which we'll do close to $300 million in sales this year, and at an average sales price of mid-teens. So you can imagine how many people that is.
High volume.
And then oversee our club and our service team. So that's, a few hundred associates that do service the club and service all of our legacy owners. So but it's been fun. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And again, we're very lucky to have a great team here. And I'm very proud that a lot of people decided to join Capital that had worked with me in the past.
Sure. How before we get into a specific deal, if you want to, what are the metrics behind analyzing a deal that you look for in an acquisition or a new property or a new resort on the multifamily side or people buying residential real estate, they'll talk about cap rates or they'll look at a cash on cash return and you mentioned it already, but like they'll see how much leverage they can get on a deal. Like that's kind of your standard meat and potatoes of a real estate deal. So is it cash flow per door? Like how do you analyze a deal? What metrics do you look for in going through a new property?
I think two things on that. Like we look at, because you put RFPs and acquisitions together.
Yeah,
so I want to separate that again, right? So if we're doing an RFP, if we're going to go out there and say we want to become your manager at your resort, you know, we look at a few things, right? We're going to look at can we provide the necessary service at a management fee that makes sense for us, right? Yeah. And some things we look at for that are we in market already? Can we offset some of those costs with others? And that's been a big thing for us because now we are over 200 resorts and associations. I mean, across Maine to Florida, out to Hawaii, and 3 other countries. So there's some things that we can do to offer. Sure. Like we're looking at a resort today in Tennessee, the team's up there that would be very close to something we're already managing. So that gives us a lot of economies of scale, if you will, on that. And then we look at, hey, do they need our other services? Right? Do they need sales? Do they need rental? And generally they do. Yeah. And so those are other lines of revenue for us. Sure. Right. And then from the sales end, we make the finance revenue overall. So that's what we look at on an RFP. Yeah. And from an acquisition, we ultimately look for, hey, does this fit our core competencies? Right. We're probably not going to go out and buy a motel in Omaha. Sure. Right. That's not what we do. Right. Does it fit our core competencies? Right. And that is, timeshare management, sales, rental. Yeah. And then, so we've done 2 major types. If you look at acquisitions, we bought management companies, like VRI is one that I mentioned, right? And we bought developers. So like the most recent developer we bought was in January of last year of 22, Silver Lake Resorts in Orlando. Wow. So, large property, the original developer still was operating, still had sales. I think it's 460 units. Adjacent, actually backs up to Animal Kingdom, so great location. Oh, cool. Yeah. And, it made a lot of sense for us because we were in market already. Yeah. It had space where we could grow sales. It came with inventory that needed to be sold. And so we would look at it that way as well. So that's kind of the 2 types of acquisitions that we would look at. Super cool. What do we look at when we do that? Was that a question? Yeah, that was kind of the question, like the numbers, right? Is there any certain metric? But I think you touched on that a little bit with, it's a little bit different because you're so to speak bidding on the work from the RFP side of, hey, this is our fee. Do you guys want this, or do you see the value in our business? Yeah. So it's a little bit different. I think for us on an acquisition though, Matt, I bet we look at it similarly to other deals where we'll look at, for Silver Lake, for example, what's their current EBITDA? Yeah. What price do they want, or what can we afford to pay? And we look at a multiple of that. Sure. And then we do a pro forma on, what do we think we can synergize that to? What other services can we add as we combine the companies? What do we think we can earn there? And then what's our fully synergized multiple? Yeah. And we make a decision based on that. So it's really about EBITDA or cash flow. So that makes plenty of sense. That brings me to 2 other questions. So on the acquisition side, what we talked about a couple seconds ago, when you brought on VRI, obviously there's exchange. There's a lot of good that can come from that for your existing customers, and then for those new resorts as well. In looking at acquisitions, do you ever take a strategic look of like, hey, we don't have anything in this market here, or like, oh, obviously we have something here. You mentioned that would make it easier, but maybe kind of a hole in the portfolio as a whole of, hey, this would be a good fit for us. Yeah. Absolutely. So I'll give you a good example of that is we knew we wanted to be in Hawaii. And so, we went out and actively sought the management contract of a resort in Hawaii. Wow. And, it was great. And we'll actually open sales there next couple of months. Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jason just was in Hawaii. I was wondering if it was at one of your resorts. He was there for a while. The last question, then we can jump into a deal specific. You acquire a bunch. You have 200 resorts here, 700,000 members and owners, says the website.
in analyzing a new deal or in bringing on everything, any property, is there an exit strategy to the deals, or for a company as a whole, you just, once you have it, you want to keep it forever, or is there any part of the business that you're making money or you value, hey, we can get this at a good value, and then, this leaves upside potential to exit in 5-10 years to make a bunch?
We've only been acquiring so far. I don't see us, because what we'll do when we sell inventory, we're selling inventory into our club, which takes a traditional timeshare week, owning week 42, and it puts it into our club and gives it all the flexibility that a Marriott owner would have, or a Hilton owner, or Wyndham owner, something like that. So, I don't think we have any plan. We don't have any plans to spin off parts of our business. That wouldn't be what we're looking to do. Yeah. I think ultimately what we're looking to do is build a great business overall that can continue to grow, or continue to acquire.
Year. That's awesome.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of the episodes we've done so far, and the podcast being called The Deal Ranch, which was actually something Jason gave me the idea of. But do you have a specific deal, complex acquisition, or long deal, complex deal, any story in particular that you wanted to tell?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about, do the most recent one.
Yeah, perfect.
Because that's also been our most complex overall. So, obviously I don't want to get into, we're not publicly traded, so I'm not going to get into any particular numbers here. But I think the thing, first, it's been a great acquisition for us. And I think that's the best part. But we move fast on stuff, and we, what made this particularly complicated was, of all the acquisitions we've done, this is the first one that we've ever done that we didn't buy the entire company.
Wow.
Right? So if you think about that, as you have a huge company like MVW with a huge, $6 billion market cap or something, we bought one of their sub companies that wasn't their core business, right? It was VRI was the manager in the independent space, and Marriott is a company of brands, as they like to say, overall. So it made it complicated because we're buying a business and having then to separate it from a larger company.
Sure.
Right. So we're still working through the separation of IT.
Wow.
And things like that today, which made it. Now the MVW team was great. Yep. They did everything that we negotiated. And they actually delivered some things ahead of time, which was awesome.
Always
because
nice.
you never know how that's going to go, because once the deals are done, everybody goes on and focuses on something else.
Yeah.
So that made it really complicated. What also made it complicated was we're onboarding 100 different resorts.
Crazy.
With independent boards.
Yeah.
That are any change you have to explain, right? And the good news is their boards are educated, so they were for the almost 100%. They got the reasons why it made sense.
Yeah.
And the third thing that made it complicated was there were parts of VRI that had never been totally integrated into one company. So, for example, they're operating on 2 different inventory management systems. So we're actually putting everybody on ours, and it's not like it's one conversion. So it's a lot to do. Yeah. That's a small example, but and we knew that going in, so none of that was a surprise. No, none of that was a surprise, but it just, something if you haven't done it before. Yeah. You have to do it, but you don't really, you never fully know what you have to do until you do it.
100%. Yeah, that's quite different than someone buying an apartment building. I mean, there's not much acquisition or conversion in an existing tech stack, or how the people. We're not acquiring people. That's a whole different animal. And having done that the first part of my career, I definitely get that. Having to retrain people or get them over. That's a whole beast itself.
An example, Matt, is again a fantastic team at VRI.
Yeah,
they had some proprietary systems that, if they were their own company, let me say it this way, they probably would have upgraded a decade ago.
Yeah.
Right. And so, we moved them to the inventory management system to a Windows-based system, but they weren't used to it.
Sure.
So it's been a lot to do. Again, everybody's receptive because they know it's more secure. They know it's going to give them more tools. But
still, it's changed.
It's changed.
Change is change. Yeah.
It's changed.
So how long did that deal take? When did it start on the sales side? Is this acquisition at a higher level? Does this start with someone like Jason? How long ago did this begin of talks? And then you're still doing onboarding, like you said now, but what's the total length of this deal?
Yeah, Jason and I had a meeting with the Marriott CEO back in 2018 after they bought Bary, and we just, a quick 10-minute hello at an industry function, just saying, listen, we know you just bought ILG Interval, and VRI is a part of that. If you ever want to move that on, we're interested.
How crazy is that?
Now, and then you fast forward to the end of 21, Marriott goes out with, they put it out to bid. And so we participated in that bid process to purchase VRI. And there were several other bidders.
Sure.
Again, hats off to Jason, right? We use a lot of resources, outside resources too, for diligence, but he drives it. That's his, one of his many things he's good at. And, we quickly established a value that we could put on VRI.
Sure.
And a lot of that, again, is back to that, what are they making today? And EBITDA, what do we think we can do with the company?
Right.
And it goes very quickly. Now, we're at in my semi-educated opinion, we're at a big advantage in that purchase because we were the only bidder that had a real sales program that could create additional
boost for them. Yeah.
Not only service to the clients, but also EBITDA increase.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was a big deal for us.
Wow. And what was the total time span of that deal, do you think?
Not long. It probably from bid to close 6 months. Yeah.
That seems pretty quick for that substantial.
7 months maybe. Yeah.
During that time, how is that impacting your day-to-day? Like if you're talking about increasing, you have 200 resorts, this was a 100 resort acquisition, right? Simple math, you're doubling the size of, I guess, just resorts, you're doubling the size. But how does that change day by day? Because if like any other sales process or deal, right, you go through it and some days you're like, oh yeah, we got this thing locked up. Other days you're like, maybe we're not. It comes and goes. For you as COO of the company, going through the ups and the downs, the lulls of a sales cycle, when you're talking about doubling the resorts under management, that's pretty big or could be super stressful. How did that kind of flow through the 6 months there?
Yeah, I think for us, and again, I go back to the growth phase why I wanted to come here. And it's been a lot, right? And I think I got some great advice from a former mentor, and his name is Gary Hyde. I don't know if he'll ever hear this, but he ran the resort operations business at Wyndham for a long time. And I remember one time where he was, his kids were out of the house, and Gary was probably in his early 50s at the time, had the top job in his field at Wyndham.
Sure.
And he was going back and getting his doctorate, or his master's in international business.
Oh, wow.
And like every waking moment, he's traveled a bunch. Doing all this stuff, but every waking moment, he's taking his vacation time to study and do his projects. And he'd started gaining a little bit of weight. Not that he was ever out of shape, but wasn't able to work out.
Yeah.
And he's a fit guy. Yeah. And I just said to him, I'm like, Gary, what are you doing? Why would you do this?
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, there's never going to be a time where somebody's going to come to me and say that the job has passed you by.
Wow.
When I want to retire, I'm going to go out on my terms.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, and I actually asked his permission to tell that story because it was a private conversation, right? Wow. And I was just blown away. And he said it better than I just said it. Mm-hmm. But it was very impactful to me, right? Yeah. So I guess for me, I feel like here that I need to earn the right to my job every day, and that means that I need to grow. And so there were some things that I had to do differently. And I'm, listen, I got a lot to do. I got a lot to learn still, right? And
everyone.
I need to continue to grow. But I feel like as we do more, I have to change what I'm doing. And hey, I don't always see that per se. I asked Jason for feedback. I asked some of the folks that work for me for feedback.
Yeah.
Right. And I think overall, that's what I think anybody should be doing. Right. So what has changed? A lot. A lot's changed. I would have been more intimately involved, deeper in the business than I can be today.
Sure.
And I think that I need to continue to help the folks around me see, develop themselves so that they're able to do more. And I think that's what's fun here. I mean, this is not a place you come if you're ready to, take long lunches, not
chill
be challenged,
Yeah.
And work at a slow pace. This is a fast-paced environment. And for the folks that want to grow and learn, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Right, because you're going to get exposed to stuff that you never would be exposed to anywhere else.
You can feel it in the office. Everyone dressed nice, which is different in office to office, obviously, but a handful of guys and gals in suits, and you can just feel the energy in here. It seems a lot different than having.
Yeah, we ask our folks in the field to,
Yeah.
Our folks at the front desk, they wear uniforms. Our folks in the sales world, in marketing world, they wear suits and ties or jackets at least.
Yeah, all the way down to you. You're the COO.
So
You're
I
wearing a
try
full
to-
suit today.
I don't want to ask them to do
anything you would.
anything I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right. So
Love that.
Yeah.
Last question, we can wrap up.
Yeah.
With the current state of the economy, rising rates, and post COVID, do you see anything on the horizon for the vacation industry, or even rising price of fuel? Right? Anything on the vacation industry horizon that you're excited for that stands out, or even the timeshare as well? Like just where we're at in this kind of snapshot in time.
Yeah, I think a few things, and I'm always a glass all the way full
Yep.
person, right? But I think we also have to see it around the corner.
Right.
So things that concern me, I mean, consumer prices going up, right? I think that's concerning. I think that, at some point, the consumer's going to say, ouch,
Yeah.
Somewhere. We're not seeing that at all in the travel industry. I mean, occupancy rates across the board, not only for timeshare, but hotels are at highs.
Yeah.
I think, again, I listened to that Marriott earnings call this morning. I think they said their occupancy system-wide in the timeshare side was like over 90%.
That's insane.
Which is just hard to do.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not surprising because I think the thing that has helped the timeshare industry and vacation ownership overall is once a consumer pays for something, they're more likely to use it. And it's really nice when they go on vacation, they're not coming out of pocket for their room.
Yeah.
Right? They've already paid for that.
Yeah.
They own it and they pay a yearly maintenance fee, but they've already paid all that. So they're more likely to want to use.
Yeah.
So what in my career, what I've experienced over time is in a rising market, a rising tide raises all boats, right? So you have consumers that could not afford your product before that can now.
Sure.
But in a market now where a consumer is starting to say, hey, I want to make sure I'm being frugal or smart with my money.
Yeah.
You may have some more people that may have looked at second homes before that now look at this
Interesting.
as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what we've seen. We saw that in 2009, 2010.
Wow.
And we're seeing that now overall. I mean, I think our industry overall has seen record close rates on people purchasing the product.
Wow.
And that's not just, it is here. I mean, we're definitely experiencing that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing for Capital Vacations specifically, while we have several fly-to destinations in the Caribbean, Mexico for the U.S. consumer, obviously, and then Hawaii, we have a lot of drive-to locations.
Sure.
So even during the depths of COVID, people were using the products.
Wow.
It was, back then I was nervous to tell people that because not everybody had
of course.
a lot of people had a really hard time and some people lost their businesses.
Yeah.
So I feel really good about our business overall.
Yeah.
A couple other things I would point to is what I think will be lasting impacts of COVID. I think people are going to continue to want more space on vacation.
Yeah.
Right. I think that, and I also think.
Well, what does that mean to you? More space on vacation?
And their accommodations,
Okay.
privacy, the ability to spread out. I mean, if
Cool.
you think about this work from home
Yeah.
thing, which there are a lot of people are calling their folks back, but it's acceptable still to work a few days a month, even for folks that are in the office all the time,
100%.
or a day a week at home. And we see people taking longer vacations, right? They can have a 2-bedroom condo, even if it's only a couple.
Yeah.
They can spread out, have an office there at
Oh,
their vacation.
wow.
We're seeing that all the time. So I see them wanting that more space, that more privacy, the ability to have a meal in their villa if they wish.
Yeah.
And I feel the other thing that we're seeing, I think, industry wide, is people want experiences.
Yeah.
I think many of many of the consumers, Americans, were restricted for so long, right? That we're seeing them want to have those experiences, go places they've never been, take a cruise, go. I mean, you look at cruise bookings now. It's
through the roof.
It's shocking how quickly it's coming back.
Yeah.
So
I just think our culture is changing as a whole. I think from at least my parents' generations and even theirs with the advent of mean, just as simple as the internet, right? Being able to jump on and see what else is out there in the world, or be like, I can go here or go to Capital, and if you're a part of the program, see the different resorts.
And I think
it changes everything.
And that's what Capital and the other big companies have done too. Is you have that kind of captive environment of people who owners that we serve or club members that we want them to come to us for these travel, even if they're not going to stay in a timeshare. If they need a hotel room for a wedding or a kids sporting event or something, we want to provide that, and we do.
That's awesome.
So it's really providing that level of service to those clients.
To any client,
That's right.
Whether owner or
and you're right.
Or
hey,
one
travel
time.
is a commodity, right? You can look online and see what anything costs pretty much anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
right?
super
So
accessible too.
Super accessible. That's right.
Yeah.
And so it's up to us to provide better service and make sure that we're capturing as much of that as we can.
And you're already doing it.
You're trying.
That's a good wrap.
Got a lot to learn, but we're working on it.
That's it. Thanks for jumping on, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
it's been
it.
fun.